Today we're going to learn a new grammar structure, the passive voice. This is quite a confusing grammar structure in English language, and you may ask, what's the point of using it? So let's go through and find out why we use it and when we use it. Why should you use the passive voice? There are times when you don't want to say who or what did the action. Maybe you don't want to know who did the action, or maybe the object is more important than the performer of the action. To understand, we first need to know the active voice. Let's take an example. Mary cooked lunch. The subject, the verb, and the object. And the sentence is in past simple. Let's turn this active sentence into passive. Lunch was cooked by Mary. So the object of active voice or active sentence becomes the subject of passive sentence, and the subject of active sentence becomes the agent of passive sentence, and the verb is formed by adding the auxiliary verb to be in past simple and the past participle of the verb cook. We form the passive with the verb to be in the appropriate tense and the past participle of the main verb. The plants are watered by John. Subject, to be in the appropriate tense, in this case is the present simple, and the past participle of the verb water, and the agent is by John. We use the passive when the person or people doing the action are unknown, unimportant, or obvious from the context. The window was broken. We don't know who broke it. The decision will be announced tomorrow. Who will announce it is unimportant. The patient has already been operated on. So this is obvious that the doctor has operated on the patient. We also use the passive voice when the action is itself more important than the person or people doing it, as in headlines, newspaper articles, formal notices, advertisements, etc. Hundreds of buildings were damaged by the earthquake. We also use the passive voice to make statements more formal. The meeting will be held in the main office, or more polite. The glass has not been cleaned properly. This is better than saying you haven't cleaned the glass properly. The passive through tenses. If you want to master using the passive voice, then you need to go through all tenses in English language. I have presented here the active sentence turned into passive sentence in each tense. For example, Joanna waters the plants. Then in passive is the plants are watered by Joanna. So that means the plants are more important than who's doing the action. Let's take a look together. The plants are being watered by Joanna. The plants were watered by Joanna. The plants were being watered by Joanna. The plants have been watered by Joanna. The plants had been watered by Joanna. the plants will be watered by Joanna. And the modal verbs, the plants may, might, must, should be watered by Joanna. There are some rules used in the passive voice. The agent can be omitted when the subject is they, he, someone, somebody, people, one, etc. So somebody has left the window open, then in passive, the window has been left open. The agent is not omitted if it is important, or if it is a specific person. For example, the announcement will be made by the president himself. With the verbs that can take two objects such as bring, tell, show, promise, read, offer, etc., we can form two different passive sentences. For example, he offered her some flowers, then this can be turned into two passive sentences. She was offered some flowers, or some flowers were offered to her. In passive questions with who, whom, or which, we do not omit by. Compare these examples. Who will give the speech? Or, in passive, who will the speech be given by? Thank you, my dear students. Until next time, bye-bye.